We got a bidet!
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's Shoot the Sheev podcast, we are talking about The Force Awakens, which is actually pretty cool for all three of us. You may see we've actually had Austin on here before. I think one, maybe two times in the past in the Mando videos. So thank you for being back with us, Austin.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So yeah, we were getting ready to talk about The Force Awakens for this week, and uh, obviously we went back and watched the films and looked at the stuff we liked and disliked. But one of the cool things for all three of us is that we actually got to experience this time as adults. So it's kind of, at least I would say, fairly fresh in our minds. What was happening during that time, the excitement, the anxieties of what Disney may do with Star Wars and all that good stuff. Is there anybody that wants to start off right away with what they remember?
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that. Um, so one of the really cool or exciting things for me with this film is this is the first Star Wars film I got to see in theaters. So I had not seen any of the prequels in theaters, like Jeremy got to see a couple of them. This was the first Star Wars movie that I got to experience, like on the big screen, and I'm pretty sure we saw it in IMAX too.
Did.
So that was really cool for me to be able to, participate in such a large event. It's not just, watching a movie at home on the tapes. I remember being really excited. There was a lot of anticipation leading up to the movie, and then it was just like a wow, how could they end the movie here? And I have to wait how long for another one to come out? Because with all the other ones, I was able just to watch back to back to back at home. And with this one, I actually had to wait for another one to come out. So it was, there was a lot of emotions.
And
Yeah, they got us good at the end of this one.
yeah, do you remember what happened when we went to go see the movie as we were walking into the IMAX?
I do not remember this, although I'm very surprised based on what you've told me has happened. I feel like it's something I would remember, but Jeremy, what happened?
Yeah, so when we were all waiting outside of the IMAX, waiting for the group to come out from the showing before us, and then obviously they would clean the theater and stuff. And as people were walking out, this dude goes, "Man, I can't believe they killed off Han Solo." And I was just like, what a jerk.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what the heck, man? Because I think we went, I want to say we didn't go like opening night, like Thursday night, but we went that Friday. So, I
pretty
mean,
early.
yeah, we were able to avoid most of the stuff online. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it's so hard to do that these days. Like the next day, like the same day, like stuff will be out there, screenshots. Like you got to just stay off the internet if you're really worried about that stuff.
yeah,
Um,
even like with the shows.
yeah, even with the shows too. Um, yeah, that is unfortunate that you had that experience. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to the talking about that point in the movie later, but um, I mean, I think that scene was very like I don't know, you kind of knew it was coming since the beginning of the scene, if you
Yeah.
know, if you, yeah. So spoiler, yeah, but
Are you
man, he
defending
really
this
shouldn't
guy
walk up to his son who's in a bad mood in the middle of a bridge. I don't know.
With
Could
no
have
rail.
waited to talk to him later.
with no railing? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
no railing, of course.
Austin, did you see this movie in theaters?
I did, yeah, yeah. I was super excited about it.
Was it also the
The
first Star Wars movie that you got to see, or did you see the prequels?
I saw Revenge of the Sith for sure. I don't know if I saw Attack of the Clones. I might have been really young, but I definitely saw Revenge of the Sith, and I just loved that. That was so awesome. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, so this was like a second time. It was like a super pack theater. I went same as you guys. I went like the first weekend, just to get it out of the way because I don't want to get spoiled on stuff. Um, yeah, I had high hopes, and for the most part, I came out of it thinking they were pretty much met. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah. I thought the movie was really good, especially I still think it's really good in my opinion, but um I'm a little bit more, I think, nerdy with the things that I remember. The So when we watch or when we did the podcast about the Phantom Menace, I talked about that was like, in my opinion, the best time to be a Star Wars fan of my generation because of literally everything being Star Wars. I think Disney went pretty hard with The Force Awakens as well.
yeah,
Uh,
with like the marketing and the toys and
yeah. I mean, you couldn't even buy a bag of lettuce without having Kylo Ren on it. I remember buying those. um, but yeah, the some of the interesting things about some of their marketing. Sarah and I actually went to the toy drop when they released all the new toys at midnight.
okay.
Forget what they called that. There was a special name for it. Um, but one of the interesting thing about it was that there was probably eh, maybe 3 or 4 aisles worth of stuff, but it wasn't like a normal one aisle after another. It was like 2 aisles next to each other, and then like a huge open space in the middle of the next 2 aisles where they kind of had a whole bunch of stuff, and then um like little quote unquote cardboard kiosks with other toys in the middle. And we were probably like 15 or 16 in line. And I was like, you know what? I see this dude with the cross lightsaber on the trailer. I think it'd be cool to get that figure. What's up?
It was called Force Friday.
Force Friday. Thank you. Yeah, because they had that for a couple more years afterwards as well.
What store did that?
This one was Target.
Okay, that's
Um,
cool.
but yeah, by the time the line had moved through and we were able to get to the section where the toys were, there were people that had regular sized shopping carts, and they weren't even looking at the toys. What they did is they took their arm and they put their arm behind the
Hmm.
entire rack and just pushed it into their cart. So, you may have had the crappiest figure or the coolest figure, and the carts weren't just filled to the top. It was a mountain of toys in their cart. Um,
Yeesh.
yeah, yeah. Um, it didn't help that I believe they even had a sale that night too, where it was like if you spend $100 on Star Wars toys, you got like 25 off, kind of a thing. So it even
Naturally.
encouraged, yeah, it encouraged more to have so much more stuff. But basically, we did not walk away with an action figure. We walked away with Nerf guns, and we still have
Star
their,
Wars Nerf guns?
yes, stormtroopers.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty neat. They have, like a magazine, and like you don't have to reload it with one bullet every time, kind of a thing. So they were pretty neat. They even do the little pew pew noise when you fire.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. I think one other thing that was kind of interesting about their marketing was that you see, or we see on this channel all the time, that we collect the Black Series figures. And when they did the Black Series figures for Force Awakens, the first set of them, the majority of the figures were kind of like random characters that have nothing to do with the movie, which I thought was crazy because they looked interesting, but they were kind of like those people that were in the background of the movie. Um, I don't really remember their names per se, but like when the Kanja Club shows up to meet Han Solo. uh,
Oh yeah, like the
they-
deaf group.
yeah, there's like one dude in there that looks like a pure red droid looking thing, but he's like behind everybody. He was one of them, and then there was like this smuggler looking dude from Jakku that was also very popular during that time. But
And the purple hair lady, right?
she was from The Last Jedi.
Oh, I gotcha.
But when their time came, yeah. So Hasbro definitely went, and Disney went very hard with their merchandising, especially with their toys. But as we talked about, I think it was
They got
Solo.
to make got to make that money back from the deal
Yeah.
with Disney. That was the quickest way to do it. Start
Well,
selling toys.
that was one of the big ways that George Lucas made a lot of money too. Because like he made the movies, but he made his bread and butter off the toys. So, they had to try.
Funded everything.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to think. Well, and also with The Force Awakens, like I said, it was this first impression that we got of what would Disney be bringing to the table. So
Yeah,
that
the
was pretty big.
effects were amazing. The sound, the score was amazing. Like they did a lot of things right.
We got the introduction of a new droid that was really cool, being BB-8.
Yeah, BB-8's amazing. It's the opening scene of the movie, and you're just instantly in love with him. It's great.
Yeah. I had
Unlike Dio, dare I go there?
we're not there yet, but
Save that for another time.
yeah, Dio is my least. I think we did the video of who was our most disliked Star Wars character, and Sarah helped me with Dio. Not a fan.
As Jeremy described him previously, what was it? A coffee cup and a donut stuck together?
Yeah, they went out for coffee, and someone was like, "You know what? Donut, coffee cup."
Is this the one from the game?
No, it's the one from Rise of Skywalker, the one that's like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me."
Oh, okay.
They find him on that random ship.
He's white and
See that?
green.
It must not have been a good droid because it's not instantly coming to the forefront. So it
Let's
has
see.
been a while since I've seen the movie, I'll admit. But
I'm pulling up a picture really quick.
I guess I could pull a picture, right? I have the internet right here.
Yeah,
Dio?
this guy.
And D-O.
Oh, Dio. Okay, yeah, I do remember him now. I just don't remember at what point in the movie it is.
It's when they get to what's his face's ship that has the dagger.
I gotta say, Jeremy,
Okay,
that was a pretty good
sure.
impression of the "Don't touch me."
Yeah.
Sounded just
You're
like
exactly right. It's a donut and a cup.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was like the most unimaginable thing of sitting in a coffee shop and saying, "This is it."
I was like, man, we need to make another droid today, but all we have is these two parts left.
Yeah.
It should be fine.
Trying to remember,
what?
was there any like special popcorn buckets or something that came out during this movie?
I know like our local theater does that with a lot of new big movies. So like I know for sure there's a Force. I actually have the Force Awakens bucket in my. I should go get it right now.
I was about to say, I remember because this is maybe it's a little embarrassing, but I actually like filed a complaint with our movie theater because when they were releasing the Star Wars buckets, they just put the logo on it and then stars kind of a thing. They never put any characters on them.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I have. It says Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and there's stars on it. Really cool bucket.
Yeah. Well, we had it too when I think we even got The Last Jedi when it came out as well. But then when Rise of Skywalker was coming out, I was like, "Hey, we gotta get some characters this time," and they're like, "Nope. What are you doing?" Even
You're asking,
the Little
you're asking for too
Mermaid,
much.
the Little Mermaid bucket that's out right now, they don't even have a picture of a character on it. So
Huh. I wonder if it's like too like they just choose the most simple design they can for the bucket. I don't. But there are so many cool ones. That's weird.
yeah. And you'd think, with such a big IP like Star Wars, you would have done
Right.
something crazy,
That
but
that's why I got the bucket. I was like, this bucket, it's gonna be worth millions one day. I have to get it.
yeah.
Star Wars is gonna be the next big thing
Hmm.
again.
Yeah, again.
Again.
For this generation, which I don't know if you got to listen to our most recent podcast, but we were talking about how if you were to start with any one of the trilogies as the first movies you watched. Maybe we can get your opinion on this a little bit, Austin. What do you think just if you were to watch Force Awakens on its own, you have no knowledge of anything else, what would that tell you about like Star Wars and um
Force.
the Force? I'm looking for, I don't know what the word is. Not canon, lore. What would you get from this movie about like the lore of Star Wars?
Well, you learn that the Jedi are real. Would have been cool if that part of the movie came from a Jedi, but it came from a friend of the Jedi, Maz, in the little whatever her little hideout is. She has a little
Maz's
talk with
captain.
Rey, and Rey has like a vision or whatever. So you get kind of this little glimpse into the Jedi, and then Rey's not really about it because she gets like scared of the vision. So it doesn't really dip too much into the Jedi lore, but until like, I mean, not even at the end. At the end, she just kind of embraces it, and you know, she's gifted in the Force. And so it doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't get into it really too much, which is fine. I think it's kind of almost better. It's like kind of simplified. Um, and I think the use of the Force in the movie is they do a lot of the like mind reading. Kylo's trying to interrogate a lot. Like there's like two different scenes at least. So yeah, and then they move a couple things here and there. I don't know. There's not a lot of like force jumping or any of the like traditional stuff I guess I think of when I think of the force, but
Yeah,
um
that's kind of interesting because, like you said, there's a good handful of these things I think were kind of new,
mhm.
um, that they did, and not a whole lot of callbacks. So, yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to think about Star Wars from that lens, especially because I know when I grew up, it was like force push, force pull,
Right.
jump, choke, lightning, um,
Yeah.
which they really didn't do much of that in this
And
one.
you can, manipulate objects, right? Which tended to be a lightsaber. So you could like throw a lightsaber, bring it back. Like that was super cool.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and we get the like, the infamous like pull the lightsaber to you. Like that's at the ending, obviously. That's actually I don't love that scene, but we'll get to that later.
Well, that's actually a good transition. So we kind of talked about, what it was like to be around during this time, what was Disney's approach to Star Wars. And so when we come back, we're going to talk about some of our tough loves for The Force Awakens. And it sounds like Austin is primed for that. So stick around. Have you seen The Mandalorian? Do you wonder what Operation Cinder was that they mentioned in this show? Well, we got you covered because we have an entire playlist dedicated to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, which highlights Operation Cinder. So if you check out our playlist, you'll be able to see what actually happened with Operation Cinder and know what they're talking about with the show. Now back to ours. All right, welcome back. Austin actually has the bucket we were
Got
talking
the
about in the
bucket. I
beginning.
wasn't lying. Here it is.
Yeah, that's basically what they did for all three movies, but then changed the title in the middle. um, cool buckets, I will say they're cool. Just a little lackluster on design from the people that sold them. But this is our second section of our Shoot the Sheev, and this is where we talk about our tough loves for The Force Awakens. I guess I can start off with one of them. One of my tough loves is that I thought the movie was a little safe.
Mhm.
Kind of, one of the big criticisms of the movie was that it was kind of like a rehashing of where we've been, but at the same time, it kind of establishes that for the new Star Wars fans. That way, we can go somewhere with the other two films. So it's kind of like a love and hate situation. Um, I wouldn't say I hate it, but it's definitely something where if I were to have to pick something I didn't like about this film, because I actually do like it very much, um, that would be one of them, is that they played it safe.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Um, like I guess I kind of get what you're saying, where right when it was kind of getting good and getting into the really good parts of the movie, it was that it was the end. It was over. Then we had
Yeah.
to wait.
And we waited a long time, and we all know what we got.
Payoff was interesting. I'll say that for
Yeah.
now.
Uh, Austin, what's one of your tough loves?
Uh, there are some for this movie. Um, and they so most of my gripes with it actually come from kind of where things went after this. I was just saying to these guys that I was very invested in these characters actually after this movie. I thought Finn was really interesting, how he diverted from the First Order and um, joined up with the Resistance, kind of begrudgingly at first, but um, and then even after that, he wasn't even down for the Resistance. He was just trying to save Rey, I guess, which he got his way through a war meeting with that argument. But um, yeah, he eventually joins up with the Resistance. But I thought his character was really interesting, and Rey was really interesting, even though we didn't know where she came from. Come to find out, she did come from somewhere pretty significant. But uh, I was excited to find out a little bit more of that. I think we get like I'm trying to remember. I can remember like one flashback scene where the big guy that gives her the portions,
Hmm.
he's kind of grabbing her by the arm and hurrying her along. That's like one flashback scene. That's kind of all we really see, and she's like watching, a shuttle take off.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about that scene in particular, you'd have to read the book Star Wars Shadow of the Sith. It is a longer book, I will say, but it does fill in a lot of information, not only for Force Awakens, but also Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I was like super interested to find out more about that, which we don't end up getting in the movies, as you just mentioned. Um, so I guess those are kind of my gripes, but I thought the introduction to those characters was fine. Ray was like very skilled, I guess I'll say, for someone who, from what we saw, is just like a scavenger. She kind of hung out on this junkyard planet, so she saw a lot of ships come by, and she was always taking things out of ships, so she kind of knew, what parts do certain things and might be valuable. Um, there's even like a scene in the Falcon where she rips out something and gets it. They're, well, they're like they're
Like when
hyperdrive.
she
Or,
bypassed the compressor.
yeah,
Hmm.
the compressor. Yep, something that the bigger guy, you know, that wasn't supposed to be there, of course. Um, but what else? I wrote down some notes. Let me just take a quick peek here. I mentioned this one earlier, but I would have liked if the Jedi stuff came from like an actual Jedi in this movie, but it's whatever. I think those scenes are fine for the most part. Um, like, uh, I guess I wish Rey would have been a little bit more open to the Force at first because when she was hearing, I feel like I've been talking forever, so cut in any time now, you guys. But um, when she's hearing about the Force from Maz, she's like, "All right, just close your eyes, feel the Force. It's all around you." And Rey just looks at her. In fact, she's staring at her, like Han told her not to, and so she doesn't go for it until the end of the movie, right? But that's a little bit of growth for her, I guess, which is cool. Um, but when Han Solo was when she found out who he was, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the Force, all that stuff's real," she seemed really like, "Oh, really." So I just wish she would have like gone for it a little bit sooner rather than getting scared away by the vision. But I understand why. route, especially when they were going to intertwine Kylo Ren's story with her so much.
Yeah. One of the kind of piggybacking off one of the things you mentioned, you were talking about the vision she had when she touched the lightsaber. One of the things that kind of bothered me is that some of that stuff never really came to fruition. And, looking back, some of it really doesn't make any sense of why like, we see the scene from Empire Strikes Back. So maybe that's kind of showing where the lightsaber came from because we don't know how Maz got a hold of it, which I guess that's a huge one. We
That's
never,
not in the book?
I'm sure it's in a book, but I have
Oh,
not
okay.
read that book.
Sure.
um yeah, as far as not being able to see things on screen, she says, it's a story for another time, that we never hear the story.
Classic.
But the one in the vision that I really wanted to see was when Kylo like stabs the dude in the back and then like pushes him to the side and it's like pouring rain. We never see what that was. Like, was it part of his initiation of being the leader of the Knights of Ren? I know when a lot of people, including myself, was speculating about The Last Jedi, one of the things that we were thinking was that, is this going to be like Kylo Ren ambushes Luke and Rey on Ahch-To, and Kylo tells his people don't kill the girl, and this one guy's about to kill her, and so he stabs him in the back, kind of a thing. Um, there was so much speculation around what these visions were, and really nothing came of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't really touch on Kylo Ren, surprisingly, for as long as I was talking, but that is probably my biggest issue with this movie is just kind of the setup of the plot. I don't like I think it's they could have come up with something a little bit more creative, I guess, to kind of create a rift between Kylo and Luke. Because that's kind of why the movie starts, right? Luke's in isolation because of everything that happened, everything that went down, which is a weird thing for that character to do. Even weirder, there's like a map to him just in the out there. There's a map to him, which if you're trying to be in isolation, you'd probably leave that to somebody you trust, like somebody really important, which
Kind of
sounds
like
like was
two
that guy
different
in the beginning of the
worlds.
movie. Might have had some, because that's who Poe gets the piece of the map from.
Yeah, coincidentally, that's the guy that's actually working with Luke quite a bit in the Shadow of the Sith book, um, as they're trying to investigate all these different things. There's a lot of plot lines in that book, but they're very buddy together,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure things out.
Yeah, he once again, kind of like Maz, just seemed like somebody who's like a friend of the Jedi and very loyal to them. Um, and even that whole camp, because the First Order just shows up and starts like blasting, and they're like blasting back immediately. There's not like freeze, we're looking for a prisoner, we're looking for information. There's nothing like that. They just start blasting. It's like that meme.
Yeah,
Um,
the Philadelphia one.
um, so
I've got a handful of things or
go
questions
ahead.
to ponder for you guys. So my first one is, isn't it kind of strange that both Ray and Finn can understand BB-8 right from the get-go?
Yeah, so that was kind of one of my things where I wanted to find out more about those characters because um Ray's very skilled. That's one of her skills is she understands that language.
He
She
understands Chewie as well.
Chewie,
Yeah.
she understood the guy that was trying to take BB-8 that she had to save him from that had him in a little
Oh,
net.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that at least was a creature from her hometown. Like, she's
Hmm.
interacted with them before
Yeah.
because
So
she knew that that character just wanted BB-8 for parts and for scrap and whatnot.
yeah, she's very cultured in the galaxy,
Yeah.
this Ray character.
My next one is how does Kylo Ren make Rey pass out after he's force holding her? So he's like got her in like a force choke, but like not enough that she's struggling to breathe. She just can't move.
Yeah, it's like the
And then
force.
he like basically snaps his fingers and she passes out. Where has this been all this time?
Yeah, um, the that
Seems
that
mighty
was
convenient.
yeah. The force powers in this movie are very ambiguous. They don't really say what they're doing, how, why. That's another one of those things where I wish we could see more of that relationship between, Kylo and Luke to see like any of the training of any of the people, really. I guess.
I'm gonna
The people.
give you the answer that a lot of people don't like, and it's probably covered in the books. Um,
Hmm.
I know for a fact, Rise of Skywalker, there is something covered in the comics where, you really wouldn't know what happened. Like, when the Emperor force pushed Kylo into that like pit, and it seemed like he fell to his doom.
Vaguely, yes.
And he was like, the last Skywalker will fall, and chucks him. Well, they show in some of the comics that Snoke was teaching Kylo Ren how to do this thing where if he's falling, he can use the Force to stop him, like levitate right before he hits the ground. So I'm sure in these comics they kind of show more of that. But I think it'd be very cool if they did some sort of like Disney Plus show that showed like Kylo Ren's uh, childhood slash early adulthood, where we actually see more of what happened between him and Luke at the temple, and then him, burning it, and then uh, how is he learning these force powers that are,
Hmm.
brand new to the universe.
Yeah.
That would be really neat. But I guess to piggyback off of something that we had said earlier, if you are starting Star Wars for the first time with this film with no prior knowledge, and you see that somebody can make somebody force pass out using the Force, you're gonna wonder why you're not using that in so many of the other films because it's awfully
Yeah, who needs a
convenient.
sun gun when you can just
Oh.
turn off the lights?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that
um,
is funny. I always just, I know the scene you're talking about. I always just assumed it was like exhaustion from Ray, just from like resisting him, because she's resisting the interrogation that whole time. Um, and she doesn't even really know what she's doing, right? She just kind of goes for it and it works. Um, but I think she like kind of learns from him in the moment. I always kind of thought that was how that worked. Kind of piggybacked off of his. Uh, he's using the force to try and read her, so she's repelling it with the same tactic. I don't know. You have to make
going
it make
right
sense for yourself sometimes.
Going right in line with that is my next one actually, which is how does Rey know about Jedi mind tricks when nobody's taught her anything about the Force yet at that point?
Right.
You
She'd only
know,
really seen the like an interrogation.
right. So we know from, the original trilogy how Luke learns about it from Obi-Wan, these are not the droids you're looking for. But we don't ever see Rey hasn't even been with a Jedi to even try to learn that that's even a thing. Like,
Hmm.
how would you know to even try that, you know?
Right. Let alone to try it on a guard across the room. Well, I guess she gets him to come over
That you
first.
can't even see because she's got her back to him.
Mhm. So, hey, is anyone in this room?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't really think about that. Like,
She could
how is
sense
she?
him with the force. I got you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So actually piggybacking off of that, I've got two more. So this one relates to that.
Yep.
Um, I always kind of thought that when you had the Force, you could sense other beings that also had the Force,
Hmm.
and that was kind of where that line was drawn. But when Han dies, and as far as I know, Han does not have the Force at all, correct?
I don't think so.
That's that's for you, Jeremy. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I haven't
So
seen him use the Force. He's just like a really good pilot, right? But
Yeah,
we're,
of
I
all the
don't think
stuff they
he's
say about the Force and it like surrounding everything, it flows all around us.
so
Who knows?
we're gonna go with Han doesn't have the Force. So then
I'm fine
Han
with that.
dies. How does Leia know that Han dies?
okay.
Because right after he dies, they change to look at her.
Yeah, they do like
Looks
a
really
cutaway.
sad, like as if
They
she
should
can
cut right to
feel the
Chewie, but they
loss.
cut to Leia, who's not even there.
Yes.
The force, everything has the force, like some sort of connection. It's whether or not you are strong and you tap into it, kind of a thing, of whether you use it, quote unquote. Because like Obi-Wan said in the original, it's what binds the galaxy together.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of like all living things, right? That's why they
yeah,
have like the beast thing control.
right. So with Leia being force sensitive, I could see that that's why she felt it. I mean, they weren't even that. Well, I guess they were kind of across the galaxy, quote unquote. But um, yeah, with her being force sensitive, I could see that being okay. And my second part to this answer is family. My
Uh,
best Fast and the Furious answer.
She's got good genes. Yep.
Yeah,
I will agree with Austin though. I think it would have been better if we cut to Chewie because Chewie was there and could see it. And I think we do cut to him
he
Yeah,
after
that's
does.
like the very
after
next
Leia,
thing.
but
But
Yeah, because we actually see um Chewie catch Kylo off guard and shoots him in the side.
yeah, like I almost felt like they should have done Chewie react, start shooting, things start blowing up. Or I don't know, maybe they have like one quick moment to sulk before they, blow things up. And then that's when you cut to Leia, where they're like having one quick moment of sadness. I don't know. I felt like there was a better way to do that, but
yeah. So my last tough love, and this is really more of a silly one than anything, is okay. So whenever we see holograms from previous movies of like Emperor Palpatine, for example, usually it's like on somebody's like wristwatch or something, and let's say it's like a 6 inch tall hologram, something like that ish.
Mhm.
Why is Snoke like 12 feet tall in his hologram? Because he is
He's got the
gigantic.
jumbo scron setup, the extra large projector. It even projects him onto a throne. There's like steps that go up and it puts him up on a throne and there's like a spotlight. It was great. That was a great scene.
Yeah, size matters, Sarah, because that's why.
It's all about
Okay.
sending a message.
Yeah,
Yes. Showing
Kylo is beneath
that
him.
power.
everybody is beneath him.
He has to go to a special room just to talk to him, just to I don't know.
Oh, that is actually kind of like a, well, I guess it's more a tough love for The Last Jedi, as suppose. But at the end, when the planet is collapsing, Snoke is like, gather Kylo Ren so he can complete his training, and then there was no training
Well, there was no training, and I don't even think you see him after that, do you?
after what?
After that scene when Snoke's like gather Kylo and
No, I think they just left it to,
like
whoever.
the last time we see him, he's just like in the snow, I think, with the gash on his face.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be Ryan Johnson's job to do that, since he decided to make a movie that took place right after the movie ended. But we never got that, unfortunately. Did you guys have any other tough loves?
I'm good. I rapid
I do,
fired
yeah.
right.
I already mentioned the map to Skywalker. I think that was the whole plot is just a little bit silly, and that the fact that everyone knows about it too. Um, like everyone knows about this map. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be kind of like a more low key thing where like if only this one guy has the thing, how many people is he telling that he has a map? Um,
I kind
And
of
it's
wonder.
understandable that the Resistance would know because they're, obviously linked to Luke Skywalker.
I kind of wondered, if it's like this one piece of the map that's missing, how much is that of the map? And if you really needed Luke, why don't you just send a couple of people to each of the planets in that little area and go look for him?
Yeah, for some reason, without that little piece of the map, they couldn't find out what star system that was. I don't know how they couldn't map that out. Having 80% of the map seems like they would have been able to figure it out. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess
too
something
bad.
about
They're in a
hyperspeed
galaxy far,
lanes. I
far
don't know.
away.
What'd you say, Sarah?
It's a galaxy far, far away.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It always is. It always is. Okay. This is my last one, I promise.
Oh, you're good.
Um, the sulking moment for Han comes when they get back from the mission, and it's kind of like a happy moment because they've blown up the Starkiller base, um, but everyone's back, and then there's no Han, right? And Leia, realizes right away. Well, she already knew, right? She already felt it in the Force, but um, uh, Leia embraces Rey like she's just gone through something really traumatic when it should be like the other way around, or even Chewie. Chewie actually is the first one to get off the ship, if I'm not mistaken, and he just walks right past them. Like, no, no, hey, so sorry that our closest friend is no longer with us. Like, nothing like that. Keeps walking. Ray, who's known Han for one day, and maybe 2 days. No way. I don't know. It
Yeah,
was
you
just
would
weird.
you would think that it would have been Ray that was chasing after Finn, who was, being taken to a medical bay, and Chewie would have stayed behind, but it kind of seems it was almost flipped in a way.
Mm-hmm. Like they just it's weird. Okay, I'm so sorry. I know I said I was done, but I just remembered another one.
Austin, you promised. I'm just kidding.
It
Go
has
for
to
it.
do with kind of the setup for the scene with Maz. Um, because Finn is not interested in the Republic at that point at all. He's just a scaredy cat. It's fine. I thought he was a little bit annoying in that part, but it's fine. And then they build it up. They're like, man, when women find out the truth, they're gonna be, you know. And then he confesses everything. He comes clean. He's like, hey, I'm not with the resistance. This is the truth. I'm getting out of here. First chance I get. And then her line, this is not a joke. This is her exact line. Her line is no, don't go. Like, is that how human beings react and respond to each other when you just find out that like he just lied to you and you've been traveling with him for like, a day. You thought he was part of the resistance. Like, I don't know. I just think he broke her trust and she did not react in like a realistic way to that, to finding out the truth. That's all.
I think that's a really fair point. I didn't even pick up on or focus on that before, but that seems pretty unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like that's not how somebody would react to oh my gosh, everything you've told me is a lie. What, can I even trust you anymore?
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah, it would almost like create a rift, right? But she's like, no, don't go. No, I'm sad. I'll be so sad if you go, Finn. Like, yeah, there was almost like a romance thing. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
It makes me wonder what kind of relationships she had on Jakku. Like it seemed like she was very
She
lonesome
was
and
a
to
loner.
herself.
Yeah, yeah. When they were sorry, I keep cutting you guys off. she yeah, she had to ride her bike a really long way through the desert to get to her little AT walker. Is that what it is?
Yeah, but
She's a loner.
it makes me wonder, like, if that kind of played into the dynamic. Like, she finally found somebody that she tolerated or enjoyed. So maybe she was giving him a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like a second chance, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, people do that with relationships all the time. Oh, you did this horrible thing to me. Well, I can't leave you, especially since, now she's on this planet with no foundation whatsoever, unless Han Solo completes, getting her that
Oh,
job.
right. They weren't even supposed to be there for that long. They were just there to get a ride, I think. Get out of there.
Yeah. I have one more tough love as well. It's really short, and it's more of a technical thing than a story related. But when they are on the big ship with Han and the Kanji Club people are there, and then the beast creatures are released,
Mhm.
I thought when Finn was taken by one of those monsters and he was like going through the hallways,
Yeah.
I thought that CGI was awful, just pure awful, like really bad animation.
It was not the best. That was like the most Looney Tunes moment of the movie for sure.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and it was like a bit hard to tell like what was going on, but I did like the payoff of like Ray chopping off with the door. I thought that
yeah,
was
that was lucky.
yeah, yeah. See,
Yes,
like sometimes the comedy like really paid off, and I thought it was super funny. But then there's other moments where like Finn and Han are looking for Ray. Um, we gotta look for Ray, and he just gestures to him with his gun, like he's just pointing that way, pointing that way. And then Finn's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing with your like?" It's like, "Come on, bro, pick up on the like. I know you were like a sanitary worker at this base, but like you can't be this oblivious. Like you have to understand when someone's gesturing
yeah,
in a direction."
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, Finn's social cues are not quite there.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll pick up on some.
Yeah.
Well, that was some of our tough loves for The Force Awakens. When we come back, we're going to try to redeem this with some positives. So stay
Oh yeah.
tuned. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of the Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one. So please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about some of the things that we really liked about this film. I guess I can start off with one of them is that overall, what I really liked about this film is that it gave me some hope with Star Wars. I really liked what they did with the film, and I really liked where I thought this movie would have been going with the trilogy. I know it's a whole other discussion of where the rest of the series went, but I think based on what they did with this movie, I was a very happy Star Wars fan after I got out of it. It took some processing, of course, with it all being new, and it was definitely a different style. Um, but overall, I think it restored a decent amount of hope in Star Wars fans.
So you could say it gave you a new hope.
It did.
Okay.
And you could say as well that this mimicked A New Hope quite a bit.
It did, yeah. I'm surprised we didn't mention that already, but there were so many callbacks to not just A New Hope. I think that's the one it was closest to, obviously, plot reasons. Um, but there was callbacks to a few of the movies, right? At least.
Yeah, they mentioned even like the Death Star a time or two because it was like a mouse compared to the cat of the big
Yeah,
planet that they
the
had.
size
Yeah,
differences. That was cool. That was a cool scene.
we had that. We basically had a trench run mixed in with the like flying in the Death Star with the way that they destroyed
Right. Yeah,
Starkiller
they had to do
Base.
that. Um, there's a lot of dogfighting.
Yeah,
Those scenes were mostly done pretty well, I think.
that's actually the first one was one of my favorite scenes from the film and the setup and everything too, like how there's we don't know who's in Maz's castle. So one person is like, yo, First Order, the
Yeah,
rebellion or the resistance is here. And then there's another person that says, yo, resistance, that
your
droid
droid
is
is here.
here. And then they all come together and have one big clash.
Yeah, there's a lot of spies in this galaxy.
Yeah.
There's
So
some bad stuff going on.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It really like got everything going really fast, which was for better or for worse. It happened.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that I really enjoyed was the music of this film
Yeah,
and
they crushed
able
it.
to pick up on some of the uh, to me it's kind of like a callback, but reusing some little bits and pieces of the music from the original films that I thought was pretty special.
Not only that, I thought some of the new themes that they created too, like the resistance music, which is absolutely bumping during the scene that I was talking about. Um, and
The
also
trench run.
Ray's no, the dogfight in the like ground battle at Maz's castle.
Oh yeah.
So like when the X-Wings are flying across the water and approaching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
That was
really
cool.
like that music, and then Ray's theme and Kylo's theme. Um, really like those.
Yeah, definitely. The music was really good for this. As it, that was kind of a standard for being Star Wars. So if they couldn't do that right, then you know, the music
Uh,
was great. I thought like a lot of the background scenes, a lot of people kind of complained because we didn't see anything really like new, but there's only like so much you can do, right? There's only so many biomes. Like it's either going to be hot or it's going to be cold. It's going to be grassy or it's not, right? Um, and I think there's a little bit of creativity. You can come up with some stuff, but people were upset that Ray was from a desert planet, and obviously we know Anakin's from a desert planet. Um, but I did like what they did with those scenes, like uh, when Ray's traveling on her speeder. I thought all those shots were really nice.
yeah, I feel like they did a pretty good job with making Jakku, even though they're both filled with sand, they still
Mhm.
felt very different. Because like Jakku was more of like a village type place, whereas Tatooine has a lot of like building type structures.
Yeah, yeah,
I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, we've kind of talked about, is the characters were really good in this movie.
yeah, yeah,
One thing I think that kind of really stands out, as far as like when we came out of the theater in relation to some of the other movies, so like I can say right off the bat, Solo or Rogue One, in comparison to those, I think we probably knew just about every new character, like major new character's name, walking out of the theater from The Force Awakens. And that's because they were so engaging. Whereas when we came out of like Solo or Rogue One, I hardly remembered anybody's name. So I think that that
yeah,
really helped with this one.
yeah. They kept the cast a little bit smaller. I think like Rogue One, they do have like a lot of different parties, and like it's like the pilot guy who comes in and you don't think he's important, but then he's with them the whole time, and they meet these people in the town. Like the cast kind of grows throughout that movie in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Um, and Solo, I really get what you're saying, where like the characters, they just some of the scenes they don't really do a lot for the characters. They would just kind of like push the plot along.
Yeah.
It's
I
nice
actually
to see the
just
relationships.
I just remembered one other callback that was cool. Finn's first order identification number is the jail cell that Leia had from A New Hope, 21A7.
I was gonna say it, you won't believe me, but I did
Was
just
that one
watch
of
the movie
yours?
like no, no, I
Oh,
wasn't gonna say that. I didn't know that, but I was gonna say 2187 before you did, but I didn't know if it was right, so I didn't want to be wrong. I was
yeah.
scared.
Yeah, Han says 2187, but it's the same number.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I bet they do stuff like that all the time. But yeah, I think the actors all did really well in this movie. Um, I was mentioning to you guys, I think John Boyega, I think Finn, I think his like acting in this movie was really good. Even his like physical acting, the moments he's supposed to be flustered, he's like very flustered. Uh, all the moments when he's going through the desert, it looks like he's been going through a desert, like being miserable. Um,
Who wouldn't be?
yeah, no, he does a great job. I think Harrison Ford, you guys were saying he's very charismatic. He definitely brings what you'd expect.
I
He's one of
know.
Chewie.
I was gonna say a lot of that stuff actually plays into their characters quite a bit. Like we talked about just a second ago, how John Boyega was in the middle of the desert, so it's kind of easy to translate that. But also, um, Adam Driver did a lot of. Uh, I guess he was really upset with how long it took to have his costume put together on him every morning. And so he kind of used that as some of his fuel of like the anger scenes when he was like throwing fits.
He's really raged. Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention he's a former Marine too, so he's got a little bit of um Marine anger in the back of him, I suppose.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, it's kind of cool to hear some of those backstories of like where they were able to channel some of that stuff to really make it believable on screen.
Yeah. Speaking of Kylo, I don't know how we haven't brought this up. His lightsaber is so cool. I mean, you kind of talked about it when you were talking about the toys, but the lightsaber, that is gnarly.
Yeah, it really brought something new to it. Like when he is fighting Finn, and there's always this thing in Star Wars where they clash lightsabers and they're pushing back and forth. But it was kind of cool to see how it was like, I'm not gonna push back and forth, I'm gonna twist, and then it
Right.
like just digs into your shoulder. So I thought that was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
You guys bringing up Han and Chewie earlier reminded me. So I just want to go through a couple of some of my favorite scenes or like little banters back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have other things to add into these, feel free.
No, I think that's good. I can add two things that I thought were like some of my favorite things too. So
Yeah. So Chewie, we're home. Obviously, that's very classic.
yeah,
Um, then Han trying Chewie's crossbow and saying, "Oh, I like this thing."
yeah,
Like he'd never tried it before.
yeah,
So I thought that was fun. When Chewie was being treated by the nurse and she was treating him, so he had some sort of a wound or something, and the nurse was
yeah. He
talking
got
about when
shot.
he was a kid, like, "Oh, you're so brave. You're doing such a good job."
She didn't want her arms ripped off.
So I thought that was fun. When they were going to shut down the shields, or I think that's what they were going to do, right? Or when they were going to rescue Ray, that's what it was. Excuse me, mixing up some of my movies here. They're going to rescue Ray, and there's a lot of like snow and stuff outside, and Chewie says that he's cold, but we don't know what Chewie says because we don't understand Chewie. But Han's like, "Oh, you're cold,"
Yeah.
because he's got like this fur coat on,
Right.
just as part of his, his normal fur. And then one last one was when they captured Phasma and they're trying to figure out what to do with her, and Han says, you got a garbage chute? How about a trash compactor?"
Yeah,
So
that'll do.
I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Those
that
guys are
scene was
just
great.
a good character duo.
Yeah, Phasma was awesome. I wish they would have used her more. She was so cool. Let's see. Let's see.
You said you had a couple that were like favorite moments for you.
Yeah, you had one that reminded me of a different one, but I'll say the lines because your lines made me think of some lines. There's a scene in the beginning where Kylo's Ren says that you can't escape your family, which I thought was really interesting because he ends up ultimately kind of siding with his family, and Ray actually takes an alternate route. So I thought that was an interesting line in hindsight. Um, and then Ray is just the scavenger from Jakku. She's so worried about getting back to Jakku the whole time, pretty much until she has the Force vision.
Still
Uh,
don't know why she really wants to go back.
yeah, well, she thinks like her family's coming back. That's the line I was gonna say. They Han says, "Why do you want to go back to Jakku?" Like when he's offering her to be part of the crew for the Falcon, Uh, she says, "My family will eventually come back," which is kind of funny line in hindsight, also. So
Yeah, because they're all dead.
yeah. Oh, I remember the other one. I remember in the theater, it was really funny. Everybody loved it at the time, but yeah, in hindsight, it bugs me. But when uh, huh, they all get to the base, it's the same scene as like, oh, you're cold. It's he was like, what, Finn, what'd you even do when you were stationed here at the base? And he's like, oh, sanitation. And he's like, sanitation? How are you going to get the shields down? It's like, wouldn't they have talked about that in the war meeting probably before they sent all these people here to risk their lives?
We'll
Probably,
just use the
but
force.
it was a funny
Well,
line. It was funny.
he said he knew how to get the shields down. He
Yeah, he
lied.
was like, I got it covered. I got it covered. And they just moved on. Like, oh, okay.
Sanitation.
This guy's
Oh.
got it. He's our man.
Do you have any, Jeremy?
I don't know because you guys picked a lot of good ones.
Yeah, we were first. We had the
Yeah. I guess I just really liked a lot of the ways that they not only introduced us back into these characters that we really love, like the legacy characters. I think they did a really good job with that kind of stuff. Like, how do we introduce Han and Chewie, and like the whole "We're Home" is like a beautiful way of doing that, especially when they connect them to the Falcon.
yeah.
I feel like they really did a good job with their homework of how do we bring these people back into, you know, this universe, and not only bring them back in an effective way to introduce them to new people, but also where it's going to resonate with the old fans. So I
Yeah,
thought they did a really good job with that.
yeah. In the movie, it happens pretty suddenly, but it's great. It
Uh,
does lead into the Looney Tunes scene, but still good.
yeah. One of the things that I guess is kind of a discussion question. I really like this theory, but it's kind of hard to discern what it was 100% from the on screen. When Kylo and Han are on the bridge, and Kylo says something along the lines of, uh, I know what I have to do, but I don't think I have the strength to do it. And,
Mm-hmm.
he puts the lightsaber out sideways, and Han puts his hand kind of like this onto the lightsaber. And if it's anything like the Black Series lightsaber, I can tell you that where Han was putting his thumb was right next to the igniter. And we see them kind of struggle a little bit, and then we don't actually see one who turns the hand and who turns on the lightsaber. And we see Han Solo, get stabbed, and Kylo says, thank you. And which what this could have been in theory is if Han killed himself, then this could have been Kylo's way of not fully tipping towards the light side, and this could have been his heroic way of saving his son without, you know, yippee
Corrupting
ki
it.
or whatever, kumbaya in the first movie of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But if Kylo would have ignited it, then he would have killed his father, and then he may have become full dark side. So I
Right.
guess, what are your thoughts? Do you think it was Han? Do you think it was pretty clear that it might have been Kylo?
That is very interesting. I always just assumed it was Kylo kind of doing what he thought he had to do in the moment. Um, but yeah, that whole scene is very weird because they're cutting to their faces a lot. Um, and but yeah, at first he hands up the lightsaber, and it looks like Kylo doesn't even have a great hold on it. It looks like he's pretty much just handing it to Han to hold on to
Right.
get rid of it, give it to him, I guess. But then once he puts his hand on it, then it's a struggle.
Yeah. Not to mention how I would say beautiful the cinematography was
Yeah,
on this
we didn't
scene,
talk about
because
that.
it shifted from blue to red,
It
when
was
all
like
this was going.
when the sun all got absorbed from the planet,
Yeah.
everything went dark. The
Yeah. And then
cinematography.
that's when he was killed. So I mean, that scene was like, a lot of people say, oh, that scene wasn't so great because it was basically the same thing as A New Hope with Kenobi being killed. Well, I honestly, if you were to ask me, I think that this was done better just because
Yeah.
of some of that added stuff in there. You really felt for this father and son struggle. And I think when you kind of add that extra thing that I mentioned, um, it really gets you thinking about who actually did it because they don't have the hands on camera. They just show the blade going through them.
This theory makes me upset that it's even a theory
Oops.
because, well, it's not you, it's just it makes me angry. Like, why don't we have an answer to this? Why didn't they just show us who it was? Because I was perfectly okay with it being Kylo Ren, but now I'm like, man, you might be right. And I don't like it. I don't like not knowing. It drives me nuts. And I'm never gonna know the answer because everybody just has their theory and both
Well,
sides could be right. I
and
don't
it
know.
makes so much sense because like Han knows all about the Force. He knows what could happen, if you choose that path. Because he was such good friends with Luke. Luke wouldn't kill Vader. He wouldn't kill his father. Um, so he knows that's like a big Jedi thing, if not killing people. So
Yeah,
it's gonna kill me. I'll do it myself.
especially since at least I believe there was quite an emphasis from Snoke to have him take out his family because his family was the one that was against the First Order.
Mm-hmm.
So if you um, like they were emphasizing your father Han Solo, like that's how we in the theaters were like, oh my god, their
Oh
father and
yeah,
son.
that was like the reveal.
Yeah, that whole scene was kind of um the part where Snoke was emphasizing, you need to kill him, kind of a thing.
Right. To proceed with your dark side training.
Yeah. Any other things you guys want to talk about that you really liked?
I think I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, I think we got most of them in there.
Cool.
Um, any comments on the ending, the final scene,
Maybe we'll pick up
the
on that.
island?
We'll pick up on that for our final thoughts on the movie.
Oh,
So
sure.
stick around and we will wrap it up with our final thoughts. So yeah, stick around. Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. All right, welcome back for our final segment here. We're talking about The Force Awakens this week. During the break, we were kind of talking about, how did we feel about the ending? And honestly, I felt like it was quite the cliffhanger, to say the least.
Yeah, there
Because
was a really big cliff in that scene.
this whole, yeah,
I'm sorry, I had to.
that was a good one. um, because the whole movie we're trying to find Luke and see what's going to happen. And literally, he has zero dialogue, just turns around and we see him and his, uh,
Just that smoldering look on his face.
yeah, because I think you said, all she does is hold it out. He doesn't grab it. Um,
Yeah, they don't even like trace his eye level from like looking at her to look at the lightsaber. Like they don't do it. They don't. They're just like smoldering stare.
You
yeah,
could see how shaky her hand was. Like she was very nervous and apprehensive about what's going on and how do I approach this guy who doesn't know who I am.
Right.
So
Um, but yeah, big cliffhanger, hopeful ending. We can say. They accomplished their mission. They destroyed the base on the way, because that was the mission. The whole movie was find Luke. We did it. We found him. We just took a little field trip on the way to destroy Starkiller Base, and then we found. Oh, R2D2 decided to wake up. That's what it was. We actually could have got Luke before the base. He could have actually helped a lot, I bet. But it's not important. It was a time. It was a time crunch. Time crunch.
Darn it, R2, this is not the time to take a nap.
Yeah,
Maybe he's a very sassy droid and just didn't want
that's
to
true.
deal with their stuff.
That's true. That's true.
Um, yeah, I thought it was really cool. It was one of those things like when you leave the theater, you're like immediately wondering what's going to happen next, so you're already theorizing. There was so many, in my opinion, cool theories that were out there of what was going to happen next. Um, of course, we're going to talk about The Last Jedi when we get there, within the next week or two. But yeah, there were so many cool possibilities that would have came out from this. Um, one thing that we haven't really talked about is the lightsaber battle. How did you guys feel about the lightsaber battle? Knowing, we kind of came off of lightsaber battles from the prequel trilogy. We obviously saw the ones from the original trilogy. Coming into this movie and not really knowing what to expect from Disney, was this lightsaber battle sufficient for you?
Um, I will say yes, only because Ray and Finn had never held a lightsaber before the movie. But
I feel like it was very unrealistic from that point of view
Mhm.
that neither one of them not only had no lightsaber training, but they had no sword training.
Yeah, like Ray has the stick in the beginning, and she's very good with that. She like
Yeah.
takes out several guys, trips one up, so she's kind of good with that. And it
That's
almost
true.
translate. I was actually watching it in the lightsaber scene, and I'm not super big into this, so I can't tell you what all the different lightsaber styles are, but I know they exist. And she was definitely doing one. She was doing like a lot of stabbing and poking with it,
Mm-hmm.
almost like it was the spear. So that's Sarah. Kind of goes back to what you're talking about. She
That
wasn't
does
using
make
it like a
sense.
normal sword. She was like poking a lot, and she did like a big overhand like swing. And
Yeah, that makes more sense for her. But then for Finn, I think that's
yeah,
still kind of a mystery as to why he,
well,
he as a stormtrooper, you only use a blaster. So how does
mm,
he have this other, ability to not only attack but also defend
yeah.
himself?
Well,
I
Finn, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say yes and no. Um, and this is why. So when they're in Takadana and they're having the ground battle first, we see that stormtrooper that has like that thing that like whips around and he's
Yeah,
fighting Finn with
traitor,
it.
that guy
Yeah, the traitor guy.
who instantly knows who Finn is, even though he's not wearing. He just knows who Finn is.
Well,
Traitor,
they went to
that's
college
you.
together. No.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of fighting like with melee weapons that they have with the First Order, but I would also um extend off of that. It would have made more sense if because like that weapon, it seemed like half the time the dude was fighting with it as if it was like Ahsoka with how she holds her lightsaber backwards.
hmm
So I kind of wonder if it would have made more sense for Finn to have that style than the normal way, quote unquote, normal way of
Yeah.
holding the lightsaber. So I think it would have been kind of cool to introduce that into live action because I don't think before this we really have seen that.
Yeah, not really. Um, what I will say about Finn in the lightsaber scene in the ending is Finn does go down pretty quick. I'm not trying to dog on him too much, but he has no training. He goes down pretty quick to Kylo, despite Kylo having a wound in his abdomen, currently bleeding all over the place. Finn goes down pretty quick.
Which I thought that was really cool that they actually had that in the movie. Not the fin going down, the wound from
Mhm.
Kylo Ren. Because one of the things that is talked about, but it really isn't shown, is that the dark side users feed off of pain and anger. And so when we see Kylo like punching himself in the wound, it's to really ignite that pain and
Feeding off
anger.
of it.
Yeah, he's basically creating his own power from doing that. So it was kind of cool to see that little touch added in there.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably what kept him going in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got some good points. I didn't expect that much retaliation on what I said, but it was
That's okay.
deserved. So good job.
Yeah, it's okay. No, because I felt the same way. So I watched it really closely this week when I was rewatching it. Um, but yeah,
It did
I,
make me wonder why Kylo didn't kill Finn.
yeah,
Like, he was a traitor. You would think they
right,
would kill him for defecting and stuff.
right. Well, and slicing him across the back, leaving him in the snow. He would have died if he just got left there, but they brought him on the ship and they started like doing med stuff right away, I think. So
Yeah.
I like the instability of Kylo's lightsaber.
mhm.
Like it gives it a unique look.
Again, explained in the books of why it is the way it is. But
It's like a
yeah.
crystal, right?
Yeah, he basically, when he was making the crystal bleed, he did a thing where it wasn't the normal process, and so uh it caused it to be unstable. Hence the unstable lightsaber.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool. His new sword. We get to use it in Jedi Survivor, so that's pretty cool. It's a little bit different, but the idea is the same.
That's cool. Yeah.
Uh, I
Overall, I did like this movie. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say a small extension from this film. If you've ever played Star Wars Battlefront 2 in the campaign mode, they actually show you what it's like when Kylo is like reaching into someone's mind. What is he doing? Um, Basically what he's doing with that force power is he's kind of like force projecting himself into their mind and then walking around their thoughts and
Did you? I'm
what
sorry, I have to cut in here. Did you ever watch the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show?
absolutely I did.
Yeah. Uh, Yami the Pharaoh, when he's going into the puzzle, there's like all those stairs and doorways everywhere. That's exactly what I think of every time there's like a mind kind of thing. Like
I
getting
would
at someone's
say
mind.
I would say it was somewhat similar because he like bounces between different thought processes and stuff. Um, but yeah, like if you ever wanted to see what it would be like when he uses that force power, we do have the video on our channel, so you can check that out. Or you can play it yourself. It is the very last mission of the story mode, so you'd have to
It's in the
try
new
to
game?
do
Or which game?
it.
I'm sorry. You
It
said
came out in 2017.
okay.
Yeah, because it released alongside The Last Jedi and then had a bunch of promotional stuff for The
Gotcha.
Last Jedi. Any other thoughts on the movie?
Overall, I really liked it.
Yeah, thought they did. Good job. Um, characters were all cool.
Yeah.
Made a really fun movie.
I'm predicting the positivity to shoot as we go to the next movies, but we'll leave this one on a good note. So
Yeah.
if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We do Shoot the Sheaves, trying to do them every Wednesday. We actually just created a whole like outline for a ton of other Shoot the Sheaves. So we're planning to do this for quite a while at least. And we look forward to bringing those to you. If you want to make sure that you are notified when those drop, make sure to turn on notifications. That way on Wednesday, when they do pop up, it'll pop up right there on your devices. Drops a like if you like the video, and also drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on The Force Awakens. Austin, thank you for being with us again. hopefully we'll see you more in the future on here.
Yeah, of course.
And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.